Hello. Welcome back to the Jared cast. This is Gerald. That was a bad idea. All right, poor choices right off the bat.
First
Welcome
episode
back.
to scare a dog. Check.
Yeah. Surprised. Um, she thought it was Pennywise. No, we're back. I'm Jared. I'm one of your hosts. This is Jared, one of your other hosts. How you doing?
I'm doing good, Jared. I'm doing good. I'm excited to talk about some Stephen King. I, you know, his whole thing is awesome with the books, but I've only read one.
Yeah, which
Like,
one?
Carrie.
Carrie. Okay.
Yeah,
I haven't read that one.
yeah.
The only
But
I've now finished it, which is why we're doing this episode because I finished it and I've dragged him into it.
yeah,
And I got halfway through Salem's Lot and kind of forgot about it, but I need to finish that.
is that the
I thought
vampire
there was
one?
one more. I don't really know what it is
Okay.
yet.
My bad.
I haven't gotten that deep into it, but
um, the one I really want to read though is Misery, because that movie's been a
mm,
part of my life for
yeah.
since childhood, and it's terrifying. But I heard that the book is like even crazier, so I want to
Ooh.
get into it.
Yeah, I
But I don't
remember
know.
you introduced me to the movie. I hadn't seen it till we watched it together.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, we're not
Uh,
talking about that today. We're
no,
talking
no.
about It and The Shining.
Yeah.
Uh, two classics. Well, I guess one classic and one one newer one. Two classic books turned movies.
Hell
Two of
yeah.
his most popular movies for sure.
Yes.
I'm excited. Both are bangers. But before we get into that, we got a pretty snazzy top five today.
Yeah, yeah. Our top five is our top five scariest scenes in non-horror movies.
Ooh.
Uh, this is kind of perfect for this episode because so much of these what these movies are about children and about what
Mm.
scares children and about growing up. And the reason why I picked this top five and the reason why this top five was kind of easy for me to fill out was because I just picked scenes from my childhood that scared the shit out of me. Because I,
I went to at least two of them were that direction for me.
yeah, the my number one is a movie I saw as an adult, but the first four are definitely ones that like have been with because I wasn't allowed to watch horror movies as a kid, so
Mm,
like or at least not like crazy horror movies. Like I could see
yeah.
Jaws and stuff, but
My parents
um,
called me a wimp because I didn't, because I was afraid, because I was a wimp.
yeah, yeah. uh, my, but yeah, there are still plenty of horror directors out there who delve into other genres and they get to flex their chops there and scare the shit out of me in those things.
Mhm.
So starting with my number five, uh, an indie horror director got his chance to make it big with the Lord of the Rings, the Fellowship of the Ring.
Mm.
And so when Peter Jackson came up with the birth of the Urukai in mud and this weird thin membrane, and they strangled the people that created them as soon as they got out of their birth, I was like, I had nightmares about that shit for years,
Yeah.
and it was great. I loved it a lot. So that was my number five.
Hell yeah. My number five is one that we've already talked about. Ooh, it's a movie we covered. And it's definitely also from my childhood, and it's the tunnel scene from Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory.
That's a good one.
It's a
That's a
fucking
good one.
nightmare. It's a fever dream. It's a great scene. I love it. I still love it, but it was kind of horrifying the first because it's just so out of nowhere. That's where most of these come from. It's
Yeah,
just catches you off guard.
I feel it. I feel it. Yeah. Um, this one, this my number four like kept me on guard every time I was inside of a kitchen,
Ooh.
because it's the kitchen scene from Jurassic Park.
Mm.
I you know it's still the scariest moment of the entire Jurassic Park franchise. Um,
Mhm.
seeing the kids have to being almost outsmarted by velociraptors was terrifying. The the little claw tapping on the floor
Yeah.
like that, like it was like teasing them and hunting them and like just enjoying itself. It's
Uh-huh.
crazy to me. It's crazy. And they were so persistent, even when they were going through the vents, it didn't help. Yeah,
Oh.
uh, crazy movie, but I loved it and it scared me and I hid behind the couch.
That makes two movies that we've already covered on the podcast. Eventually, all our top fives are just going to be every movie we've talked about.
Yep.
One that we didn't talk about, though, it wouldn't be a scary, not in horror movie list if Aronofsky didn't make an appearance.
Oh my gosh,
Um,
yes.
and I went with Black Swan when she's like peeling feathers out of her back and like picking off her fingernails and shit.
Yeah.
It's gross and it scared the shit out of me.
Yeah. Very strong performance by both
Oh,
Natalie Portman and Mila
yeah.
Kunis.
What a great
Um,
movie.
mhm. My number three is directed by a lovely horror director named Sam Raimi, who uh, blew up in the mainstream even more than he did with Evil Dead 2 with the Spider-Man franchise.
Mm-hmm.
The scene that I picked uh, is Doc Ock's awakening in Spider-Man 2 when he's about to have surgery and the tentacles come to life without even without him even knowing, and they basically like the entire sequence is basically a short film that's a horror movie. Like these doctors,
Yeah.
these doctors that are just doing their jobs get absolutely slaughtered by these tentacles. There's this crazy scene of this Asian lady and she's being dragged across the floor and you can see her fingernails scraping the paint off the floor because she's so scared.
Mm-hmm.
And she just gets dragged into shadow. And this was a kids movie. Like this was a movie that I
Yeah.
like, oh my gosh. The classic Raimi didn't invent it, but he loved using that technique of like showing violent things as shadows projected on a wall so that you don't get too overwhelmed, and there's plenty of that in there. It's
Mm-hmm.
also very masterfully crafted in general. So yeah.
Hell yeah. My number four um, is from Tim Burton, but not a Tim Burton movie that you might expect. It's Pee Wee's Big Adventure.
Oh God, yes.
The large Marge scene.
I totally forgot about that.
Scared the fuck out of me as a kid.
It's
Speaking
scary.
of random horror scenes that are out of fucking nowhere, they just spring that on you.
Yeah, like it scares me as an adult. Like
It's fucking crazy, dude. My mom and I loved that movie growing up, and that
yeah.
scene was already like I was like cringing the whole time waiting for it every rewatch.
Yeah, I forgot about that scene for this list, but for this list, I didn't add it, but I considered the clown surgery scene. I thought that was
Ew.
pretty because he's just a normal surgeon. He takes off his mask, and it's what the like.
It's a wild movie. Maybe we need to
Yeah,
do that movie at some point because I actually really love that movie.
yeah. We'll do an episode on back when Tim Burton was good.
Yep.
Um, yeah, my number two is also a kids movie. It's from a kids movie. This one is the earliest one that I've watched on this from this list at least. But it's the one so it's the one that stuck with me the longest, and it really emotionally affected me because I was like not prepared at all for Lampwick's transformation in Pinocchio into a
Mm,
donkey.
yeah.
It's really crazy because you get this kid who's like this delinquent, right? He's a badass kid. He's
Hmm.
a leader. He's Pinocchio's first human friend. And like you're like, okay, this kid's kind of cool. He's smoking and he's drinking and he hates authority and he spits in the face and vandalizes.
It's our little
Um,
anarchist.
yeah, he's a little anarchist, and I like that about him. And then, but because the curse of Pleasure Island is that all the bad kids turn into donkeys. and then sold into slavery, which is crazy. The like this kid like as soon as he sees himself like slowly turning into a donkey, he's like call for help, call your cricket, call everybody. Is like, and then he starts screaming for his mother. Like this kid
Hmm.
who hates authority starts screaming for his mother and then turns into a donkey. Like you can
Yeah.
see his fists close and slowly shake into hooves. Ugh,
Uh,
it was gross. And apparently in the original story it's even worse. Like Pinocchio meets him later on a farm
oh,
because
jeez.
he was sold as a donkey on a farm and gets worked to death. Like
Fuck.
it's
That's
real
dark.
dark. Yeah, it's real dark. But
Damn.
that's why that movie stuck with me so long, is because I was like, damn, that's crazy.
Yeah. Great pick. My number two is also from a kids movie. That's Train Spotting
Yeah.
with the baby
Sure.
on the ceiling. That's just creepy as fuck. Anytime a baby's crawling over me and its head fucking turns around to stare at me, I'm out. I hate it.
Oh my god, yes. What a That's an also a crazy movie for sure.
Yeah, that movie could have a lot of picks on this list, honestly.
Yeah, yeah. Um, Good pick. Good pick.
Thank you.
My number one is the only one I didn't see as a kid, for good reason. I think. I'm glad I waited until I was an adult to watch it so that I can appreciate it. But it's the Nightmare at Winky's Diner from Mulholland Drive.
Mm,
Um, this
yeah.
scare is one of the best jump scares in history because they tell you exactly how it's going to happen and when it's going to happen. Like literally, they say it in the script. Like the character
Hmm.
says it. Like, this is how I died in my dream, and then it happens. Like it happens right there, exactly how he says it, and it still gets me. Like I still
Hmm.
jumped. I was like, "What the hell? How did he do that? How did he do that?" Um,
Yeah.
that scene
I
is one of the reasons why I love David Lynch.
I was gonna put it on my list, but I had a feeling you would, so I didn't.
For sure, for sure.
My number one, I couldn't watch as a kid because it wasn't out yet. This
Mm.
one's from a 2020 movie.
Ooh,
A lot of these have been like jump scares or like kind of body horror or just out of nowhere shit.
yeah.
This is the most real fear. this this will scare you to your core, and it's the entirety of The Father.
Oh,
That shit's real horror.
yeah.
That is like my biggest nightmare is going through that or having somebody else go through that. And it scares the shit out of me every day of my life. And so I had to had to include it.
Damn, dude. That's a
Yeah.
great pick. I didn't even think about that. Sheesh.
I was between that or have you seen Diving Bell and the Butterfly?
I actually have it. And
It's
I need to.
about yeah, I don't, you might know what it's about. If you're the audience and you don't know what it's about, some dude gets like paralyzed, but he has locked in syndrome, so he can move his eyes and he feels everything, but he just can't move or talk or do anything.
Ah,
And that shit's terrifying to me. But
yeah.
I didn't want to do two on the list that are like, oh, this concept of this movie, and so the father beat it out a little bit.
Yeah. That's a great pick. It's a
Yeah,
really hard movie to watch too.
for real.
Yeah. Um,
All right.
she.
Yeah, thanks. That was we blew through those. I feel like we usually get distracted a lot more.
Yeah.
Look at us
It-
go. I'm proud.
that that top five should have been 8 minutes longer, but it was.
Yeah.
Congrats us.
Hey, go us. And that's just 8 minutes longer that we can talk about the movie It from
Woo!
2017. Not doing the mini series this go around. But before we get into it,